Hey there. In the United States, we talk about international law a lot. Last month, we bombed Syria, supposedly because we care so much about an international law norm related to chemical weapons. That's not true, of course, but rather than dive back into that disaster, today I'd like to discuss two countries that are treated as completely different by the U.S. government, but are actually exactly the same from an international law perspective. Now, a YouTube video is probably the wrong venue to try to talk about international law in any real detail. There's very little agreement on what this concept even is. There are treaties and multilateral organizations that lay down bits of it, but international law is extraordinarily complex, with different countries signing on to different treaties, and at the end of the day, international law is dependent on what parts of international law the United States chooses to enforce, by itself or through the United Nations. So this video isn't going to go into great detail here. What I'm going to talk about today is one of the most important aspects of international law. The idea that aggressive war against your neighbor is illegal. This tradition has grown up from the Kellogg-Briand Pact through the Nuremberg trials and has had a lot more impact than is traditionally recognized. There is a fantastic article in the London Review of Books this month on this topic that I'll link in the description of this video. The long and very short of it is that since 1945, unlike all of human history up to that point, there has been very little invading of other countries. Sure, you can talk about neocolonialism and the fact that McDonald's seems to be everywhere, but the fact remains. In 2018, there is very little invading of other countries going on, and that's a very, very good thing. It has made the world a much, much better place. It's actually this anti-conquest international law tradition that first got the United States involved in Iraq back in the early 1990s. It's also this tradition that has forced the United States to keep its anti-Assad efforts more covert. It's a great tradition. And today, unfortunately, it is being assaulted in two places more than anywhere else. The first big breach came in 2014 with the Russian invasion of Crimea. Now, I'm a lot more sympathetic to Russian concerns than most. I think the crisis in Ukraine is more NATO's fault than anybody else's. That doesn't make what Russia did right, however, and Russia knows it. The annexation of Crimea was carefully covered up by a referendum in favor of it from the locals. Russia has repeatedly denied that its troops were on the ground in eastern Ukraine, even though most agree that they were. It is to the world's credit that it has refused to accept Putin's story. Russia's stealth invasion of eastern Ukraine and its annexation of the Crimea set terribly dangerous precedents. It risks bringing us back to the bad old days of conquest and invasion. This is actually an especially stupid thing for Russia to be doing. There are parts of eastern Russia where China could probably win a referendum of the locals today, and that's only going to get more true as time passes. So while I see Russia's interests in Ukraine, I wholeheartedly support the world's condemnation of Russia's actions there. But what we should be asking now is, why don't we see the same condemnation of what the Saudi coalition is doing to Yemen? This 3-year-old intervention violates the exact same international law norms against invasion and conquest. Actually, what they're doing in Yemen is a bit more egregious than what Russia has been doing in Ukraine. At least Russia has some people on the ground in Ukraine that agree with them. The intervention was launched in the name of Abdrabbuh Mansur Hadi, the former president of Yemen, who resided in the Saudi capital back when the intervention started and still lives there today, 3 years later. The mythical President Hadi hasn't even managed to retain control of the small section of Yemen that the Saudi coalition savagely took through a brutal siege and nearly indiscriminate bombing. Yet we're still told that he matters somehow. This is meant to hide the simple truth. The Saudi coalition did not like its neighbors' politics, so they decided to invade to change them, exactly like Russian President Vladimir Putin in Ukraine. This is providing precedent and legitimacy for strongmen all over the world who might want to invade a weaker neighbor. So when Russia takes these actions, the U.S. government and media are right to condemn them. But where's the condemnation when the Saudi coalition does the exact same thing in Yemen? This might have something to do with the fact that the U.S. government is a key part of that Saudi coalition. This is something we should all spend a lot more time thinking about. Next time, we'll talk about how the United Arab Emirates, a close ally of Saudi Arabia, may be winning the war in Yemen, even though Saudi Arabia is definitely losing. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and if you'd like to help me keep making videos that point out stuff like this, I'd be grateful if you clicked on the Patreon link here to find out more about my crowdfunding thing. Thanks.